Are you talking shift? We are. It's time for the We're Talking Shift podcast. Now. Here to talk shift, Loree Bischoff. We're Talking Shift.
Hey everyone, it's Loree Bischoff. Welcome to We're Talking Shift, where my guest du jour and I talk shift because the antidote to feeling stuck begins in our minds, everybody, with a shift in our thinking. And that shift means sometimes you just got to take action and go rogue. That is what we're going to be talking more about today on part 2 of my interview with Jennifer Gimenez. If you missed part 1, just stop right now, check out last week's podcast, and then come back on over here and rejoin us for part 2. You really don't want to miss her story. It's phenomenal. So without further ado, let's continue. I got to say first, I've had that experience more times than I can count in my life where you think big, you write down all these things. Like you just get in a state and you take out a piece of paper, and it's when you're like in this emotionally heightened state, and you just start writing all of this stuff with no, kind of a wild abandon. Nothing, if there were no obstacles, this is what I want. And then you write it all down, and then you look at those things you wrote down, months or years later, and it's amazing how many of them have come to pass. It's happened to me more than once, so I totally believe in that process. It's magic.
It is magic. And, I really do think that's vibration, that's energy, that's, and you're raw and real. Like those moments are so beautiful. And, I was taught to be raw and real. I was taught to stand in my truth in recovery, and I always tell people this, like I try the best I can to stand in my truth. I may feel a little wobbly, but I cannot go wrong, and there's something really powerful with that. I didn't end up getting those 2 jobs that I applied for, but I got to tell you, from that, Dr. Drew, who, like I said, was one of my doctors, came to me and asked me if I would do a spinoff show from Celebrity Rehab called Sober House. And, one of the things was I wanted to be back on TV, and I wanted to be an advocate, and I wanted to help people. And Drew and I, he was one of the plethora of doctors I had at Los Angeles, and he always says, I remember you throwing chairs at me. Like he says, I'm one of his top 3 female worst patients ever. I wasn't malice. I just did a lot of things for reaction. And he did not like me. And boy, did I not like him. And he actually predicted me dead by the end of that year. He said I was one of those hopeless cases that you just go through the motions for the rest of them to get it. And he knew that I knew he said that. And so when he came to me, I had taken over Los Angeles meetings, and I started bringing all like my friends who were circuit speakers from through the years of being, I started trying to get sober at 21. So, through the years that I'd met, and like high profile people would come and speak there, celebrities and stuff, and really powerful speakers as well. And that meeting went from like maybe 20 people to like 198, I think, at the most. And then like they had to shut it down one time. I mean, it was like amazing. And so he would give me his high profile clients for fun and for free, and to sponsor and stuff through those years. And he came to me and he asked me to do the spinoff show. And I looked at him and I was like, why me? Because he knew I knew he said that. And he said, because it's people like you that prove me wrong, keep me doing what I'm doing. So I want to thank you. And I just looked at him with the biggest smirk, and I was like, ain't that about a bit? And he just laughed. I always say Drew loves crazy around him because he's such an amazing doctor. He's an amazing man. Like he really has a true passion in wanting to help, people who are sick and get better. And he's really helped spread awareness to addiction and recovery. And, we did not know what we were entailing, like what we were getting into when we did Sober House that first season. From day one, when I first opened the first store of one of the patients coming in, clients coming in, and it was game on, and I ended up becoming the face and the voice alongside with Drew of all those shows. And I shot 2 seasons of that, and I started losing weight, and I wanted my body, mind, and soul to connect, and I was tired of everyone calling me fat, this and that on national TV. And I knew that I was big, and I just wanted it all to connect. And, the journey of losing weight is so intense for me. It's been a process that in itself is a whole book, when I do write the books. It has not been easy. I say that my God or my higher power has a funny sense of humor. You know, me not eating today, I start gagging. I am not cute when I like don't eat. It's very apparent. Before I could go on weeks without, you know, days without eating, not weeks, but days without eating. I have to now. I've had to do so many different things. I went from walking to like jogging to, you know, wearing and tearing my ankle on being in the cast, and trying different trainers. And, you know, Dennis Rodman on the second season of Sober House changed my life. He trained me every single day. He was my saving grace. Andy Dick was my saving grace on the first season of Sober House. Who would ever say that, right?
Yeah,
You would never
right.
believe, but he is my angel, and he says I'm his angel. But I remember one day we were shooting, I mean, we had cameras on us 24 hours a day on those shows, right? They would sleep over me with cameras. Like there was not a room that wasn't lit with, anywhere you went, anywhere you turned, there was cameras. So I remember we were walk hiking, and he was like, you know, you're really talented. You know, you need to get back into acting, and you're so fat. You need to lose weight. And I just looked at him and I went, how do I do both? And he guided me, you know, and like he always encouraged me, and I really thank him for him. And then I started working in treatment in that process of the second season, after the second season of Sober House. And I got the gift of wanting to work with others, you know, and so many thousands upon thousands of people, until this day, people still reach out to me and say, you know, that was me, you know, from that show, or, oh my God, that show saved my daughter, or I was high when I was watching it, I'm better, or thank you for that, you know. And we did not know like what to do. Like I was getting like tens of thousands of emails a month during the shows, you know, and I did not know a thing about like where to put people, what to do, what not to do. You know, I just knew what I was doing. Right. And to be part of that movement is an honor, and I'm so grateful for that. But then I started working in treatment, and I would see the lights come back on, or, you know, shimmers of lights coming into people's eyes again, and then feeling emotions. And that, I really think, is to have that communicative relationship, or have that human contact with someone else, and giving people purpose has been, you know, my thing to keep me going. By doing so, you know, I had done other shows, and I was talking about the weight loss, and, you know, my trainer, I always had male trainers. And then one time I was like, I'll try this female trainer. Her and I would talk at the gym, and I was like, I'll give her a shot. And like, boy, did she change my life. Like, first of all, she's a woman and she gets my body. Like, who would have ever thought that? Like, right. I don't even know why that concept didn't make any sense to me. And she taught me how to eat, and she made me journal why I was eating, when I was eating, why I wasn't eating, what I was supposed to be eating, what I was feeling when I was eating. So like, if I'm angry, or if my partner and I are like fighting, I won't, or like discussing, or however you want to call it, like I won't eat. Like I won't want to get in a fight or like a discussion, heavy, you know, conversation about anything while we're eating, because then I won't eat, because I know I'm eating out of emotion. So I'll say like, can we talk about that later? You know, or I'm like, well, I don't want to eat, you know, and then I'll eat 5 minutes later after it's all over. But you know, I had to start training. I had to like, you know, constantly challenge my body, and I hit walls, you know, I'm not going to lie. Like I fluctuated up and down, like I ended up losing 140 pounds. And I remember doing like my first bikini, like how I got my body back magazine. And oh my God, I was so nauseous that day. And the night before, I was so scared, you know, like about what I was about to do. And, you know, when I started gaining the weight, I thought that I was like, it was weird, the body dysmorphia. Like I thought I was looking hot, you know, like an extra 20, 30, 40 pounds. And like, I would just kind of dress a little bit revealing, you know, and like, and I really like, but I was starting to love myself. There was a lot that was coming from that because of the foundation I had. Right. And when I look back now, I'm like mortified, you know.
But it served you well to some degree, right? Because you were learning to love yourself without that former image. So
exactly.
Yeah. And we talked about this briefly before, and you had mentioned, you know, the struggle with not only body dysmorphia, but perfectionism. So how has that played into your transformation?
Oh my gosh. So my thing, and I see a lot of people struggle from this too. And I've heard a lot of people reach out to me, but like I needed to be perfect, I needed to be perfect for my family, and I needed to like take care of them and do this, and I needed to do everything perfect. And, I would sit there with my sponsor or my mentors or my therapist, through the years. And I'm like, no, but I got to be perfect. And they'd ask me to define it at different times, and like none of them talking to each other. Right. And I would sit there and not be able to define what perfection is for me, and what I've learned is I'm perfectly imperfect. There is no such thing as perfect, and if there was, who would want that? Boring, and that's what makes us unique. And that's what makes us like human and like different. And we were all made to be completely different from each other, but yet, emotions I really do believe are the same. Pain is pain, sad is sad, happy is happy. And that's how we can relate. But like I was built and made to be a certain way, and you were too, and that's what makes us powerful. When we learn to embrace all that, what we would say imperfection, it is the most powerful place to be. It is such a beautiful place. I love women. I love and honor women. That you asked me that 15 years ago, I would have told you I was down with my girls, but I really wasn't, and that's always kind of a hard one for me to talk about, because I always say I was a really solid friend. And when I did the work on that, I realized, I never told my friends the truth. I kind of sprinkled the truth, and I would never tell them where I was really at and what I was feeling or going through. So that doesn't make me an honest person. So how can I be truthful to you and a good friend? Yeah. And today I'm able to discuss that publicly, and I don't feel that everyone needs to talk about it publicly, but I do believe that we need to learn to embrace our truths and and our struggles and our triumphs and our obstacles and adversities, and how we overcome it or don't overcome it, and that's what makes me perfectly imperfect.
So with, it's such a big thing, moving or staying for a minute on this topic of perfection, and especially as it relates to body image. For some reason, it's been like this phase lately where that topic has come up a lot with other people that I've been talking with. I just did a podcast with somebody yesterday where that was the topic, and something not too long before that. And it's really, I'm at a phase in my life where I've gotten beyond that, and it's not a big focus for me. And so it's really become apparent to me lately with all of this conversation around it that it's a problem. It's a problem that's really bigger than it ever was before, for everyone, but women in particular. It has not gone away. It has only gotten worse. And I'm wondering, what can we share? What kind of advice can we give to women that are still so susceptible and vulnerable to the pressures that are put on us from, all of the outside sources, all of the, from celebrities to, cosmetic companies, all the social media platforms, everything out there, all the marketing, all of the industries are all about, wanting you to believe that you have to buy into what they're selling, and what they're selling is something that's going to make you feel like you can, look better, be more accepted, be more of enough of something, be more perfect, right? Those elusive things, enough and perfect, whatever that means. They're these crazy standards that are impossible for almost everyone to fit into, but it's pushed down your throat. And when you're especially a little younger and you're more vulnerable to it, and you haven't had the resources maybe given to you to help you understand that you don't have to buy into that it's a falsity, that it's a sales pitch, and it's an untruth. You know what I mean? How do we help women in particular not be so vulnerable to those pressures?
That's a really good question. For me, I feel like we are living in a very filtered world today. And it's the world of the selfies and the right lighting and this and that, and like what we see in the cosmetics and the commercials and the beauty ads and this. And I tell you, from coming from that world, as I was selling that stuff to people, a lot of Photoshop happens, and a lot of I call it smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
And like, am I buying into the hype? I recently this year got in a relationship with the love of my life, who, he's so about just being yourself, and it makes me so uncomfortable because he does videos, right? And then like he'll post it, and we do the same thing. Tim and I, Tim Ryan and I, like we're both advocates, and so like he will get me at the worst times, right? And I'm like, oh my God, that's going public, right? And then people are like responding, going, oh, thank you guys for being so authentic. And like, I'm like, oh my God, that's actually working. But, living in this, smoke and mirror, I want my life to look good. Let's not talk about our issues, because everything is great. But meanwhile, inside in your home, everything's falling apart, and then you walk outside and you're waving like, everything's great. We're wonderful. I'm happy. And I look like this and I need to wear that. And I need, I'm a big advocate. Like if you want to change your hair, or put some color or some weaves in your hair, get your nails done or get some Botox. If it's going to make you feel better, do it. By all means, go for it. Right. But if you're doing it because your husband tells you you're not good enough, or you're fat, or you're ugly, or God, you're aging, or like starts hitting your arm going, wow, you're getting a little wobbly. Well, then you know what? Like you're doing it for the wrong reason, and like, how do we get to that place where we find that seed, that we find that strength within us? Because us women, we are such powerful people. We are such powerful beings. And I think, and I remember my women in my life, mentors, and also my sponsor, have said, like, you have no idea the power you have. And like literally we have much more power than men, and if we used it correctly or we felt it, and I don't mean that to bash men at all. I just feel that like, if we really know our strengths, like it's all like all this stuff, I always say, like all this stuff on the outside for me, it's all going to wither away, and like I said, this aging process has been it's been quite interesting, but then it's been like this self-acceptance process as well. That's been so beautiful and magnified. Like, it's just been like, I yearn and I lean and I search for more powerful women in my life, that it can be more, I just gravitate to women. I tell my truth, and I help women who at times struggle too. And that's what makes us beautiful. And like, it's not outside stuff that's going to fix the problem. It's really an inside job. It really, really is. And it's getting, into the underlying causes and conditions. And like, are we really listening to that, like that bad side of the brain, like that says you're not enough, like what you were talking about, I did this one woman show actually, a few years back, and we did it at the Peter Fonda Theater. And my title was, Am I Enough? And it goes back from childhood into now, am I pretty enough? Am I smart enough? Am I cool enough? Am I nice enough? Am I funny enough? Am I intelligent enough? And all this. I mean, it was so much deeper than what I'm saying, but like, that's the struggles we have as women. And when I say this out loud, it lessens it, and when I communicate and when I say, I am enough, like, if I just get up in the morning, or if I have to lay in bed all day, which I wish I could do that, but I haven't done it in quite some long, like it's been a long time since I've done that, but I wish I could. If I just get up, like, that's enough. You know what I mean? Like, I have to feel that I am enough, and no man, no person, no place, no thing can justify or validate that for me. I need to feel that. And how do I get there? And it's sometimes just sitting still for even 15 minutes. And I know there's a lot of moms out there. There's a lot of full-time wives. There's a lot of full-time, entrepreneurs and women that are working, and like hardcore. Women are just so powerful, and it's like those moments in between the chaos and the madness. Like if we just sat there and just went, and breathe in, I am enough. Like I had to do this. This was really uncomfortable. I would have to look in the mirror, like, at the 2 year mark and go, God, I love you, Jenny. And I sometimes drive because I realize I'm in like the loud voices in my head and all this chaos. I'm creating all this shit in my head. And I just look in the rear view mirror and I just go, I'm enough. I love you. You're okay. You got this, Jen. And what I've learned through a lot of inner work is, I have to let the little girl inside me know that she's okay and she's taken care of and that I got her today.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so beautiful. And it's so true, everything you said. It's bizarre how uncomfortable it is for us. I think for probably most people in general, but I know, like we're women, so we relate to that. To look in the mirror and say some things to yourself that are really loving and meaningful. I had that. I was working with a client a few weeks ago, and I had her do this mirror exercise where I said, let's do it right now while I'm here with you. I'm going to help you, and I want you to say these, few things. And one of them, or a couple of them, was, I forgive you. You have to say your own name. You look in your own eyes in the mirror and you say your name. And then you say, Jane Doe, I forgive you for. And then you say like 7 things or 10 things that you forgive yourself for. And then you say, but I love you for. And then you repeat that exercise, and then you say, I promise you that. And you do this exercise, and I'll tell you what, it was almost impossible for her to even get the first few words out. She just struggled so hard to look at herself and just say, I forgive you for, I love you for, and I promise you that. You know what I mean? And we finally got through it. And she's like, she felt so uncomfortable and she felt so weird and she felt like it just was untrue for her. But once she did it, and you know what I mean? And because we have so many false beliefs that, we've been lying to ourselves and believing bullshit for so many years, things that we learned or that we were taught or that we just picked up, from somewhere, from people influencing us in our young lives, wherever, but we get all this stuff in us. And then we have these bizarre false beliefs that we've never reevaluated. And sometimes they're beliefs that served us well at one time, but now, they don't. And sometimes they're beliefs that never served us well. We just picked them up. And so you get to this point in your life like this woman had, and they're so much a part of her process and her thinking and the way that she, her model of the world and the way she viewed everything and everyone, that it was a massive struggle for her to even utter the words. And I thought, wow, that is it's amazing. And it's such a powerful exercise. And she did get through it. And she, there were once she finally got a couple of sentences out, then it got a little bit easier. And then there were a couple where her throat caught and where she welled up. And you almost can't put words to it, but you just know there was a little bit of it offered a little bit of a crack in some of those old, outdated, disempowering beliefs. And maybe created just a little bit of an opening for her to start thinking something new about herself, a new belief, a new possibility, something empowering for a change. So I think that, to your point, saying those things to yourself, it may sound light or silly for some people that haven't done it or poo-poo it, but I'll tell you what, you step up and you look at yourself in the mirror and you are willing to be vulnerable, you're willing to call your own bullshit, and you're willing to say, you know what, in spite of everything, good, bad, and this, that, and the other, I do really love you. I do care about you. I do forgive you for X, Y, and Z. And I do promise you that, fill in the blank. It's an important and really powerful exercise that everybody should at least try it.
I know. And I had to do that every day for a month, like that, I love you, little girl, I got you, little Jenny. I call it Jenny because my family called me Jenny. My friends and family called me Jenny growing up. And so I'm like, I love you. And like looking in the mirror, like I don't look outside on my cheeks, lips, nose, neck, or anything like that. I look directly in the mirror, in my eyes, and I say, I love you. I got you, little girl. It's okay. You can go play, rest. I got you. I, the adult, got you. And like, I just challenge people really to try to do it. I had to do it for a month. If you could do it for a week, it becomes ritual. Like even 2 weeks, 3 weeks would be great.
Yes.
And some days you may forget, but that's okay. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's all okay. Good or bad in your eyes, like really, eventually we get through that, and like, that's why I think like, there's times like I think about like, I thought about using, that obsession never fully lifted, but I have tools today in my life. Like I got spiritual tools laid on my feet and I get to apply them in my life. I get to apply that I'm enough in my life. I get to apply that, I'm worthy of being in love and being loving, and I'm smart enough and all this stuff. It just goes on and on. It could be different things for different people. And it's just really important. Like I will start doing it. I can assure you that I can do it for a month straight right now. And I can make that commitment. If anyone wants to join along with me, they can, get a hold of me and via on social media, and we can do this together, and,
that's beautiful. I think that's awesome. That is a great invitation for sure. Where are you at now? What is your big fashion and focus on? Passion. I said fashion, didn't I?
Well, fashion. Fashion is my passion.
Your focus is your passion. It's your fashion.
Yes. Well, last year was like a year of endings for me, and I learned the lesson. I don't know if that makes any sense to anyone, but like and when I do the work and I've done the work on it, I realized that subconsciously somewhere inside of me, I wanted to learn the lesson, and I had a lot of endings, and I'm part of it too, of the things that transpired. I was in a really bad relationship that ended after 5 years, and it was like a deception thing, and like I played a part in it, and that ended, and I said, you know what? I learned the lesson. And I hope that someone can get this, and I said, I learned everything I didn't want and everything I did want, and I said, if I was going to ever be in a relationship again, or if that when that happens, these are the things I wanted. And I wrote all down the things I wanted. And I found him, and him and I knew each other for 2 years through social media. And we do the same thing for a living. And we both have the same passions and the same desires. And like, it is wild, the ride that I've been on since the beginning of the year. His name is Tim Ryan, and he got a hold of me. It took me showing my ass literally for him to get a hold of me. But I had this picture on Instagram. I post these pictures on Facebook and Instagram, and there's stories behind it, from my eating disorders to mental illness, all this stuff. And there's this picture. I'm in a bikini and a bathing suit, and I wrote something about sassiness. And I was on a plane, and I happened to turn on my Wi-Fi, and I get this email on Facebook from him, and I never check Facebook. I just got the app though, the messenger. I purposely never had it. But anyways, I see a message from Tim, and he's like, hey, where are you, LA or Florida? And I live in Florida. We have a place in Florida now, and in a place in Huntington Beach. But I was like, I'm actually on a plane going back to Florida. He's like, oh, I'm going to be in Florida. I'd like to talk to you about some work stuff. I think, I love what you do. And like, we would randomly comment like, happy birthday if his sobriety or my sobriety, or, keep doing the great job you're doing, supporting each other. Never had any kind of conversation before. And, okay. And I'm like, okay, get a hold of me, when you're in Florida this weekend. And he's like, we can have lunch or dinner or coffee, whatever works out. I'm like, cool. So I show up the next day at the job I'm doing, and I was like, we had the guys that I was working with are his friends. And I was like, so it took me showing my ass for people to take me seriously. And we started talking. He didn't call that weekend. And I reached out to him on social media, and I was like, you're an ass. Like, you didn't even, I was like, great coffee, great lunch and great dinner, whatever, jerk off or whatever it was I said. And he ended up calling me, and we were talking about these work stuff for a while. And maybe it was the end of the year, beginning of the year. And then in this few months ago, this year, in the beginning of this year. He was like, so I'm going to fly out here. I'll fly out to you. And I was like, yeah, whatever. I've heard that one before. And as we were talking, he actually booked a flight. And we were ready to join up as partners in working, together. And I was really excited because he really saw in what I've been believing in myself. And he was like, I want us to do this together. And I was like, the power of two is great. And we really got along, and we really had the same beliefs about recovery. And we met, and that was it. It was over, and he was going through a divorce at the time. And he's the love of my life. Like, honestly, like I always heard people say, when and like, I would be like, yeah, no, I haven't felt that. I wanted to make it no, like, with the other relationships, but you can't force something like that.
Right.
The minute we saw each other, it was over. I mean, it was pretty much over talking, but it was very, like professional, but it was it. He's it. He's the one. Yeah. And he did too. I mean, like, there's no stopping it. And now we're working together. We relocated to Huntington Beach. We joined forces with Warren Boyd. If anyone's ever seen The Cleaner, Benjamin Bratt portrayed him on A&E. He had a few seasons on, and it's his life. It's who he is. He's gotten a lot of people sober. He's like the OG of recovery, and been in treatment, worked in treatment for 29 years. He's amazing. And so we joined Wavelengths Recovery in Huntington Beach with him, and relocated and literally working together, living together, settling together. We've been literally on this crazy journey for over 3 months, like speaking everywhere, doing interventions together, having the same passion, and we have the same temper. He's like my equal. It's crazy, and he hears my voice. I'm going to cry.
Yeah. Well, that's all right.
Yeah.
Take a moment. But you know what?
Yeah.
I get that because the voice thing, we touched on it earlier. And I think that it's actually a whole podcast in itself. And I think at some point, maybe we can circle back around and talk about that, because that's really, really important. It's a big thing. Being able to find your voice and being able to be around somebody that's important to you that hears it and honors and respects it.
He does honor and respect it. And, he sees me, he hears me, he knows me, and he saw me, and he saw the vision of us before he even got a hold of me. And he had been toying with the idea for over 8 months or so, about the idea, and he's been watching carefully, and I've been watching him carefully. Mm-hmm. And to have somebody see me for me, there's no price on that.
No.
It's the greatest gift ever. It's literally like I've had to pinch myself over and over again at times, going, oh my God. And then other times I want to pull all my hair out of my head because we definitely are very similar. But he knows when to soothe me when I'm losing it, and I know when to soothe him when he's losing it. And we are a team, and I've never had that with an opposite. And he allows me, he embraces who I am. It's just so important to have that. And if you don't have that, you can find that, or you can recreate it. Like what we've been able to do. Like I said, if I was going to fall in love again, I'm going to create and recreate what I want my life to look like. I lost the job last year, or the job ended really, of what I loved doing, but I knew I wanted to keep doing. And I even questioned, do I want to still be in recovery, work in recovery? And I know that's my passion. But I also, Tim and I are shooting a show as well, a reality show, and I can't wait to talk about that when that starts coming out more later. We just started the process of, we started shooting it. We're shooting a documentary. We've been speaking, we've been working with Warren and the team here, and we've gotten so hands-on. We're business development as well as working with the group, with the clients here. And we have a passion and a mission, to keep spreading the message. That is ultimately my goal. And I always ask God for a bigger platform. I've done things from the housewives because it's a huge platform for me to keep carrying the message. And now we've created a platform. Our brands have merged together, and we've merged with Warren. And just to watch the detail in here, it's awesome because here at Wavelength, it's like a 3-month forward program, with full continuum care. And, there's so many different levels, and like we work with the individual, it's each individual. It's not a whole, it's not like, oh, you got to do all 12 steps because that's 12-step base, because that's not always what is entails for each person. It's different, out roads, that different people take, but we all lead to trying to get better.
Right.
At the end of the tunnel, we're all on the same destiny, and giving people purpose and hope, and, Tim's so passionate about it, and I am too, and so is Wavelengths and more. And we're kind of with the force, I always say we're a force now. And
you guys really are, and you're so stinking adorable together. I mean, I see some of them posted. It's like watching high schoolers that are just smitten with each other. So you're super adorable, but beyond that, you can tell that there's just massive love and adoration between the two of you. And with what you're doing, with your mission and your passion together, that singular focus that you guys have, I have no doubt that you will be a major force in helping a ton of people. And I think that is a beautiful future unfolding before you.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, oh my gosh, there's just so much, but here's what I'm going to do. I would love for you to share, if there's any guidance or tips, a couple of things that you feel passionate about sharing before I ask you my last question. If there's anything that you want to share, and it can be around, recovery, or it can be around, for women with body image, whatever you feel inspired that's calling to you right now. Is there anything else?
I really think it's important that people know that they're not alone, and that the thoughts that you have aren't necessarily crazy, but sometimes they're mismanaged roads that we take, and that, I wish that people could see themselves through the eyes I see them in, and that they are enough, and that they matter, and that your story's not done. And it's up to you how you want to tell your story, and that you can recreate your life at any given moment. And that the knowledge and the wisdom that you have, whether you're 20 or 85, there's so much power behind that, and that you were here for a reason, and that I need you. I need the support from women, and I want to support women, and that we all struggle with all the same things. They're just different ways. There's different, how do I say this? There's different magnitudes of how big or small they are, but we've all gone through it. We're all survivors of some sort,
Yeah.
And that if anyone ever wants any help, they can always reach out to me. And that I would love to, help or whatever I can.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I agree. I think that as long as you're able to take a breath and you're awake and conscious, you can recreate your life experience at any given moment. So I think that is a wonderful thing to share. And I have one more question, but before I ask you, where can people connect with you? What's the best way for people to find you and connect with you and
Well, there's a few ways. People can either connect with me on Facebook or Instagram, and Twitter, and I'm Jennifer Gimenez, Gimenez, or they can get a hold of me at this number, 1-866-937-6750, and that's our helpline at Wavelengths that Tim and I have together. And if they can't get a hold of me right away, they can always get a hold of Tim at Tim Ryan. On Instagram, I think he's Tim Ryan from Dope to Hope, and Twitter, A Man in Recovery, and Facebook, Tim Ryan. Because sometimes people want to get a hold of me, and my things get so overwhelming that I ask him to look at things, or vice versa. But they can always reach me, and we are reachable.
Perfect. Beautiful. Thank you for that. So my last question for you today is, what would you share with our listeners about the value of going rogue?
The value of going rogue. Wow. It's almost like there's this freedom you have, this rawness, this realness, like this, it's beautiful. It's almost like a G.I. Jane just going and training and just going, like I shaved my head, or Queen Elizabeth. Remember Kate, what's her last name? She played Elizabeth, Queen Elizabeth, and she shaved her head and she God was getting married to God,
Kate Blanchett.
Kate Blanchett, yes. And I just remember that moment and I was like, wow, like it's one of my most favorite things I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, I do that. It's kind of like this whole thing, like, fuck it, like balls to the wall, just raw and real. Here I am. I am woman. Hear me roar. I am power. It's just beautiful.
That's awesome. I love that. That's great. You are amazing, and I am so grateful that you spent all this time with me sharing your story. It's so valuable, and I'm really excited for everybody to hear it. I just adore you. I love you. Thank you so much.
I love you so much too. I do. I can't wait to meet you. I'm kind of like girlfriending on you.
Well, I am
Tim's
too.
Screaming, bring Eric.
Yes. I will do my best to do that, and I will be out in your neck of the woods in a couple weeks, and we absolutely will meet up and have some fabulous coffee, and we'll spend as much time as we can talking up some more. That'd be awesome.
Cannot wait. I cannot wait. Tim's going over. Oh, we'll go to Montana.
But yeah, you guys need to get away. You come on up here, but don't go to Montana because we're in Wyoming.
Oh, they're in Wyoming. Okay, same place. That's what he said. Yeah, we'll go out. But I can't wait to meet you. Thank you for this. Thank you. I just adore you, and I love you. I'll talk to you soon.
You will. Thank you so much, Jennifer. You guys have an awesome day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Jennifer Gimenez. Oh my God, what a force. There is so much wisdom to be had from hearing Jennifer's story. So I hope that you all grabbed onto some of those truth bombs and use them to move you to the next best place in your life. Seriously, she has so much to offer, and you can learn so much from hearing about her journey. And she's there. You heard her. She's there. Tim's there. They are there with resources to help you if you need it. I really, really hope that you love what you heard today as much as I did. So, of course, a rating would be very much appreciated, and I would be absolutely delighted if you would subscribe if you haven't already. And please share this episode with everyone that you feel could find value in it. If you are trying to make some shift happen in your life and are interested to find out what private coaching with me is all about, you can connect with me everywhere, all the social media platforms and on the websites, we'retalkingshift.com or LoreeBischoff.com. Thank you again, everybody, for listening. I love you guys, and I look forward to hanging out with you next week. Until then, stay feisty, my friends. Go make some shift happen. And yes, that means you too, Gary V.
The preceding podcast was a TJ DeSantis production. Comments, questions, and inquiries can be directed to DeSantisProd@gmail.com.